All your best proteins, enzymes, nutrients are in your semen. Why? Because your basic function, your body's thinking, next time this guy busts a nut, I'm going to set him up to give the best stuff to that seed, so it's got the best nutrients and the best chance for life to happen.
Hello, everyone, and I hope you're all doing well. My name is Tanner Dagenais, and I'm the host of Self-Sabotage Solutions. Now, today I'm very grateful and thankful to have Nakula Das here on the line. His purpose is to help men change their mindset and reach their maximum potential by teaching them the art of sexual transmutation, the process of using this energy to achieve the focus and discipline of a monk. Now, today we're going to be talking about some very, very interesting topics: semen retention, sexual transmutation, and the porn pandemic, which I personally believe is definitely a very big, factor affecting men today, and like their overall testosterone levels, and just, I guess our society in general, because it's a big form of self-sabotage that I've noticed personally in my own life, and then just with a lot of the men in my life, and just looking around on the internet, you can tell that this is getting pushed on a lot of people. So thank you, Nakula. Thank you so much for coming on. Can you please just introduce yourself a little bit? And I'm curious, how did you get into this line of work?
Yeah, thanks so much, man, for the opportunity and to chat with you about something I'm super passionate about. It's funny, I just released a video on my YouTube channel. I think it was released. I recorded it anyways. The editors got it. So, and it was talking about my story and like how I discovered this. And I started the video off by saying, it's not like you could take a class on sex transmutation. Now you can, now bringing that, right? But it's not like in high school or in like university or college or anywhere really that you could take a class on sex transmutation and sexual energy. And it sounds it's very strange for a lot of people, but anybody who's read the book Think and Grow Rich, and that's where I first started on my path to discovering this, would know that, at least know it as a concept. And every man, every honest man on the planet will know it from practical experience after he busted a nut, what how he wants to roll over and go to sleep. And we could talk a little bit about that. So I got into this line of work simply by almost like accident, if you will, or divine intervention and purpose, depending on how you interpret it. And I interpret it as purpose. I was looking for so many different modalities and training programs, and I've spent thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars and just ridiculous amounts of time over the last close to a decade now of developing myself and learning about myself and exploring spirituality and consciousness and entrepreneurship and business development and success and what it takes. And this concept in business, like through Think and Grow Rich, and learning about guys like Steve Jobs and their private lives, how Steve Jobs, for example, would practice non-ejaculatory sex. And like Kanye West talks about his porn addiction and how he transmuted it. He transferred that addiction to his music. And he's like, that's what gave him the drive. It was his sex drive. And so many other men in history have acknowledged this power and energy. And so this concept like just kept coming up in front of my face, like, hey man, like, look at this, you should look at this. And of course at that time I was doing what every man is doing on the planet generally right now, which is, all right, wifey's out to work or whatever, this is my time to check out some real freaky shit, right?
Yep.
And then you get into the porn world, and I was jerking off every day, and I've been jerking off since 9-10 years old, right? Like most guys, like, oh shit, that feels good. And then you have a culture now that's normalized it, made it actually, they're even trying to run a narrative that it's healthy for you. Every man should be ejaculating and every man should be masturbating. This has so much benefits. This is very, very ancient wisdom. That is a clear attack on masculinity. That is a clear attack on the ignorance and how far disconnected we are from our own natural bodies and selves. And we see it in the mainstream as far as like, you need to fuck as many people. Excuse me, can I swear on
Yeah,
this
no,
podcast?
you're good.
I just
Yep.
realized
No, you're all fine.
does a little something different, right? You know, so but basically, like, I just want to give it as honest as I can in as plain language that I grew up with as I can, because I could get real spiritual with it and I can get real, like, you know, esoteric. But let's just get down to the raw essence. The culture is saying fuck everybody, fuck everybody, fuck everybody, jerk off, jerk off. Porn is becoming normalized. You got wet ass pussy winning Grammys when it wasn't that long ago that wouldn't even have been allowed on the radio. That would have been locked away in some seedy bar, adults only, age 50 up, you know, and they're like, wet ass pussy, whatever, right? Now that's just like you got 12-year-old girls like wet ass pussy, and everybody, right? This is winning. So the culture is celebrating this and sexual freedom. And I celebrate sexual freedom as well, but in a whole different consciousness, in a whole different way. And the reason that is because there is biological repercussions and results and consequences for ejaculating too much for a man. There is real life consequence for being addicted to porn, like real life shit, like finances, like divorce, like loss. Look at the politicians. There's been a few. I know one in the UK and I believe one in Argentina. Someone could correct me on that. Both got removed from their government positions, you know, members of parliament and whatever it is that the elections that they won for porn use. Wow. CEOs for porn use. There was, and I can't remember which company, but anyways, one, and there's many stories like this. Men forgetting to turn off their Zoom. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then they get caught just wanking one out, like, or you know, we're doing whatever, talking shit with their secretary or whatever. So you could see that this porn culture and this hookup culture and stuff is infiltrated all aspects of the society. And honestly, I don't know that it's going to stop. But for men who are wise and intelligent enough, who are conscious enough to recognize that they are, if you're spending your whole day chasing ass, basically, you're not spending your whole day building your business, building your dreams, doing your basic duties as a man, providing and protecting and producing and then provoking, because when you're on fire as a man, you have a presence and an energy about you that provokes attraction, that provokes people to want to follow you, because as men, we are natural leaders. And that is not a diminishing to the feminine. It is nature's way. We lead. We are the penetrative force. That is a teaching of consciousness. The conscious mind penetrates the subconscious mind, and the subconscious mind brings into creation whatever the conscious mind wants it to or directs it to. Now, if you are a man who's out of control in your sexual energy, you're constantly feeding your own subconscious mind a feeling of, and the way you talk to your subconscious mind, this is what's important to understand, is that you talk to your subconscious mind by your feelings, how you feel, the state in which you live in. If I live in a state where I feel like a king, I talk to myself like a king, and I talk to my own subconscious mind through my feelings and the pictures that I give it. Now, if I'm constantly watching porn and feeling depleted, and then eventually I'm training my mind to be a watcher instead of a participant, then eventually, because there's so much dopamine release and there's so much hormonal messing around going on with pornography, then what ends up happening is I develop addictive behaviors. So this is how it becomes a self-sabotage pattern. And most men who are honest know this. You could, like, think about the energy you have. Okay, let's say it's Friday night. It's 1 o'clock in the morning. Your ass is at home because you haven't lined anything up for the weekend, right?
Right.
Not your wife, not nothing, not boys time, nothing. You're at home because it's easier to be at home binge watching Netflix, even though real life and real fulfillment is happening in connections and relationships and meeting people. You're doing that all through a screen on Friday night through Netflix and false stimulants. You go on Tinder, You get a match. It's 1 o'clock in the morning. You're dead tired. You're beat. You got to work the Saturday shift because you haven't been taking care of your business. So you have to, right? Right.
Mm-hmm.
You got to up on Saturday and put it in. You have enough energy to drive down the highway, 2 hours
Mm-hmm.
type of thing, because she said, come over. Think about the motivation and energy that we as men have. Sexual energy is our basic motivator next to eating. Our body wants to do just 4 things: eat, sleep, create comfort and protection, safety, security, and reproduce. That is what the animal instinct in you wants to do. And unless you're in tune and in touch with that, it will control you unconsciously. When you become conscious of it, and that's what I help men do, just this conversation alone helps bring to the forefront. Like, can you think about based upon what I'm saying, can you think about some things in your life that would apply?
Oh
Like where
yeah.
you're like, see how my sexual energy has controlled me? Can you see that or relate to that?
Oh yeah, plenty. Like, I mean, I'm married, and I know I was like deep into the porn as well, right? And I noticed it was actually causing problems with my like sexual chemistry with my wife. And when I ended up cutting it out, like it made a major difference in just like our connection. But I mean, it's total like so much energy comes out from your sexual, right? Because like think about like all the energy it takes to like go into your semen and create life, right? Like I think about every day when I look at my son who's 10 months old, like my sexual energy created this little guy along with my wife's, and like I was wasting that every single day, like just
Oh,
and then just like that porn stuff, it just gets it seems like it's getting darker and darker and worse, right? So
we're
it's
more we
definitely
need now more and something a little crazier, and it's to be stimulated, to feel alive, to feel connected. But it's a false sense of connection, and that's the damaging part. It damages families. It damages the family core because excessive porn use within the household is going to create disconnection between mother and father. And when there's disconnection between mother and father, kids can sense that. And as mother and father, especially in those, you said your son is 10 months, is that
yeah,
right?
10 months. Yeah.
10 months. Congratulations, by the
Thank
way.
you.
That's fantastic. And, he's got like a dad who's into self-sabotage and stuff.
Mhm.
So he's going to be in a great environment growing up. Most of us didn't grow up in environments where conversations about self-sabotage was going on. We were
Yeah.
watching, I live in Canada. So we're talking like hockey games, and then it was like strip club, and then it was like smoke dope and go to the clubs, and that's all in here, right? Type of thing. So when you to tie that to what happens is when we're growing up, and when mother and father are disconnected, the kids, what's being impressed upon them at the subconscious level, they're picking up on that feeling, that vibration, that state. It's subtle. It's not like, well, I didn't do nothing wrong. No, you didn't do nothing wrong. You know what? You didn't do nothing wrong. You sat there and you jerked off to a screen. First of all, if you can't see that is not sex, like, don't equate porn to you having sex. But your subconscious mind, which responds to energy or feeling, right? It doesn't know that, because for those 2 minutes, right, that you were rubbing one, when you took an hour to find the right video, that then 2 minutes, right, that whole ritual and process that's just killing your day and time, and right, that whole thing, it's drain. It puts you in a state where you're completely out of your body. Your energy, your awareness is completely into this screen. So you're so disconnected from even the way you feel. And think about how, like, like, I don't know if this is going to be a video podcast or anything, but like, it's like you're like slunched over and you got one hand clicking away, and you're like, like, the whole thing is unsexy and unattractive. The whole thing puts your body into a depleted state. It takes your mind, it puts it outside of your body. Your whole consciousness is wrapped up on this screen. Actors. And think about their energy and state. A lot of them are on drugs. A lot of them are not happy with their life. That's all the subtle energy that you're picking up on. And then you wonder, why do I feel disconnected? And your woman, man, she might not know you were watching porn, but she's not attracted to you because you have nothing to offer her. From a biological level, you have to be full of sexual energy to offer her something. This all comes down to understanding how women and men operate at the level of wanting to reproduce. If you can get down to that level of straight rawness, this is no morality over it, no religion over it, none of that. All of that's cool. I'm part of a religion. I don't care how people worship, you find you. It works for me. Having some connection with God works for me. But sexual alchemy is not a religion. It's not a philosophy. It's getting down to the energy of sex, which it doesn't matter if you're theist or atheist. You know what one thing the world has in common?
Sex.
Everybody wants sex.
Yep.
The religious guy wants sex. The non-religious guy wants sex. Men want sex. Women want sex. We are a sexual society that has either repressed it through very, very hardcore religious teachings, which have good in them, but because it's so taught in like with no science, with no backing, with no, people can't buy it anymore, right? You just don't want, the priest doesn't want me to masturbate, Swami doesn't want me to masturbate, Sifu doesn't want me, teacher doesn't want. Why? Now you've got the so-called scientific community, which is essentially just a propaganda wing.
Oh yeah.
Telling you that you should jerk off all the time. So it's very confusing. Sexual alchemy takes all that and says, fuck all that. Just get rid of that. Let's take all that and let's just put that aside. Let's just look at it from a straight biological level. Here's what happens. You're designed to have sex from a biological level. Sex is for reproduction at a biological level. We as human beings have sex for pleasure. We have sex for connection. We have sex for money. We have sex for thrills. Like, we have sex for so many reasons that lives more at the mental level than it does at the actual biological level. Biologically, sex is for kids. Everything else is mental stimulation. Once you could get that, you can start to go, okay, so what is the biological function? How does this actually work? How is it linked to my motivation? How is this linked to building a business? How is this linked to developing a lifestyle or losing weight or having a connection with the divine? How does that all linked? Well, your body is pushing you to reproduce from a survival level. So sex is a survival instinct. It's at the level of bodily survival. That's why it's most basic. It's just a survival function. But it's energy. It's the most basic but most powerful survival function because it literally transfers its life force, as you know, as having a 10-month son, into the feminine, the womb, or the spiritual analogy is the subconscious mind, or the subconscious mind, the feminine, and you give it your seed. You as the man are the seed giver. The energy comes from you biologically, and it is implanted into like the fertile soil, the unconscious mind, the womb of creation in our physical experience as men, a woman. And the woman is the right environment. The feminine is the right environment. It's nurturing, it's loving, it's caring, and it's going to bring that creation, that life force into life. When you retain your seed. So let's go back when we were in tribes, right? Let's go back hunter-gatherer times, right? Let's go back to like that, when we were living really within nature. First of all, sex would naturally be regulated. Back then, nobody was having sex every day. You might be spending 2 weeks out just to get a boar to bring home. Then you got to get the shelter up because the storm is coming. Then you got to get the fire going because it's cold out and you live right. Like the amount of work you had to put in physically to make life work and survive, right, was just tremendous. So sex was regulated naturally because you as a man were out there. You had to hunt, you had to provide, you had to protect, you had to build. That was your duty, your work. That same drive is still in us, but it's manifested different in this age of technology and the current modern society, in the current society. When you retain your semen, so you stop fapping, you stop watching porn, you stop jerking off, right? And you retain your semen. And you retain your semen for a week to 2 weeks. What happens is your body, by nature's design, goes, whoa, whoa, hey, man, you should be busting a nut, because that's how I calculate that we are potentially multiplying ourselves and are surviving. My bloodline can survive when you're busting a nut. That's why you're pushed to do it, because your body wants you to do that. But here's the secret. When you retain, your body goes, all right, man, you haven't busted a nut in a few weeks, which means the potential for you having babies is not good right now. It's not looking good for you. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to help you out, all right? I'm going to stimulate your testosterone. So the first thing that happens is testosterone gets stimulated. Why is testosterone getting stimulated? To give you more masculine qualities. Because what's attractive is polarization. What nature wants you to be is masculine, so you attract the feminine energy, so you can reproduce. So it's going to put more testosterone in you. It's going to make you more masculine at a biological level. Next thing you know, you got a deeper voice. Well, that's attractive. So therefore, you also command attention more. You're more present because your brain fog is clearing, because your testosterone's pumping through your system. You feel boost of motivation because as a man, you're supposed to be motivated. You're supposed to be on fire. In the Taoist tradition, where like a lot of the sexual alchemy techniques that I teach and train men to use both in and outside the bedroom, these techniques, what the Taoists, like the analogy that they used was that they gave it elemental analogies: masculine, fire; feminine, water. You're supposed to be on fire, ambitious, hungry, leading, right? Going and get your boar. But now in this stage, go and get your bank account, going and get your who had the best hut. That's why people want castles. It's the same instinct. My hut is the best hut, and I can house 100 beautiful women. That guy's hut shit, and he can house no women. It's that same psychology is running us. Why do you think guys want Beamer, Benz, and Bentleys? You know what I mean? And why we want those things is because unconsciously the drive for those things makes us more attractive. Because what the feminine wants is to be provided for, protected. The feminine is chaotic, wavy, curvy, beautiful. So it needs room, it needs space, it needs to be let loose, but within a framework, the masculine. And women want that framework. They feel safe in that framework. That's why they call it a masculine frame. When you hold a strong masculine frame, you don't need no pickup lines. You don't need to all that stuff that's going on, dating and all that stuff. You just hold your presence in a certain way. You hold your energy in a certain way, and watch as things arrange to match you. As men, we're really powerful. Now, what amplifies our power is our sexual energy. So the first thing is we have to retain it. So your body is actually helping you. Then, according to Ayurveda, which is like the Eastern or yogic way of looking at health in the body, semen is reabsorbed within the body or recirculated within the body. So how is semen created? Semen is created through what you eat. That's why it all starts with what you eat. If you eat shit, you're putting, it's like, think about how important what we eat is. It's the building blocks of life. Your body breaks down what you eat and redistributes those building blocks, all the proteins and enzymes and all the blah, 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 blah. So what happens is when we eat something, it goes through a process of refinement where it's turned into, marrow, and marrow is then it goes through like flesh and muscle and all these different things, and then eventually comes down to bone marrow, and then out of the bone marrow semen is dropped, and it's takes, I've read different numbers, so I'll put a range anywhere from 40 to 60 ounces of blood to create 1 ounce of semen. It's a tremendous production. It's a whole production line going on inside you to make food, semen, life force. All your best proteins, enzymes, nutrients are in your semen. Why? Because your basic function, your body's thinking, next time this guy busts a nut, I'm going to set him up to give the best stuff to that seed, so it's got the best nutrients and the best chance for life to happen. That's why your sperm mixes with the semen, is injected into the woman, and then she, with all your best stuff, produces your child. But it's your stuff. So if you got shitty stuff, is your stuff's full of alcohol, your stuff is full of Mickey D's, your stuff is full of Coca-Cola, your stuff is full of processed shit. Why do you think so many kids are being born in the society with so many problems? Your stuff is weak, man. This is a serious, serious thing. You have to understand the relationship between what you eat and the quality of life you have. Take that shit seriously. That was a huge shift in my own life. Get rid of the shit. 4 liters of water every day I'm doing. I'm not a health guy or blah, blah, blah. But it's part of the lifestyle. So you cannot not be a health guy either.
Oh, yeah. So what, I think you put that very beautifully. Like you're like, I love like the fire, the water analogy. I mean, it's totally like, it's the spark of life, right? Like we provide that spark into the egg, and it's totally true. And I completely agree. Like what you eat is what it's made of, and that's definitely causing a lot of problems with our kids and our future generations. So you cut all that stuff out, but what did you add in as far as food?
Yeah, well, more like fruits and vegetables, just real. I'll just chalk it up to this: real food.
Yep.
Right? The more organic, meaning you grew it. Like the best ideal situation is you grew it, you know what's in it. It ain't sprayed. It ain't, the government isn't putting some bullshit in it. Don't GMO and, conspiracy theory. It's not conspiracy. This is real shit going down, man. Like, it is crazy the amount of food and food-like substances, because Doritos ain't food.
No.
And I'd say I love a Dorito, man. Mm-hmm. Cool Ranch is my thing. Okay. That shit, you got to limit that. Like, you got to cut that out. It's very difficult. I remember my buddy, he's a health nut. He's an MMA fighter, a Canadian champ. I was talking to him about, like, I love Joe Louis, right? I don't know if you know what Joe Louis is. It's like a chocolate thing with a cream filling.
Okay,
right?
yeah. Mm-hmm.
I love Joe Louis, man. I was like, I love Joe Louis. This guy, and I respect him a lot, right? And he says, stop that. And that's it. I stopped it because men sharpen men. That's why we need to be together as men. Men need to hang out more together with a mindset of, we're here to improve each other. We're here to build each other up. We naturally do it as kids. Come on, you could do it better. I was at the gym, right? And these 16, 17-year-old guys, right? They were doing some chest press. They were cheering each other on. Another one. See, that's their natural. That's how men behave. They call that toxic masculinity now. Competitive, all this. No, that's us. That's who we are. We need to build each other up. We need to be like, no excuses. Stop being a bitch. Come out and work out. That's what we do for each other. But when we're all disconnected and we're all just on our screens watching porn, and then I ain't got no time to go on a hike with my buddy. I got no time to go to gym with my buddy. You end up becoming passive because you got nobody there to lift you up and motivate you, and you got to do that for others. So you got to receive it, you got to give it. We're all interdependent. So I brought in more water, more real food. Just chalk it up to that. Eat real food. Get the best stuff that you possibly can with the intention to improve it with time. Work with where you're at. Oh, I can't buy organic. What can you buy? If you spent $5 on Doritos, you could have got a bag of carrots.
Yep.
I munch on, instead of Doritos, it's carrots now. Right? It's like you got to make those shifts, and they're tough at first because you're addicted to it. Your body's addicted to it. You might not think it because it's so normalized, but try stopping. Same with masturbation. Try stopping, and next thing you know, you're like, why is my hand going down? Hey, why is my hand going down? Muscle memory. It's so wired into you. You do it every morning. At least I did. Starting the day. Bust a nut. Oh, yeah, time to get up. You could get away with it when you're 16, 17, but as soon as you start hitting 25, 30, and then the older you get, you're not producing the same way. And you put a lot of strain and toxins in your body. So your body's not like, you have to take care of your body. It's a vehicle. It's like a car. You got to oil it and put good stuff in it. And you have to bring daily attention to improving your body. So let's go back to, you're putting all your best stuff in the semen. Mm-hmm. And that's what the function is. All right. After about 30 days, the body's produced so much semen because it's producing it every day. That's why guys are like, oh, you could bust as much as you want. Your body keeps producing it. Yeah, but you have to be realistic about your body. Your body is every day your body's gotten a little older. So it needs to work a little harder. If you're drinking alcohol, if you're eating sugar stuff, which we're all doing unknowingly and we're not living in environments. Most of us aren't spending 20 hours of our day outside doing things in nature. If you were doing that, well, first of all, you're probably not watching this because you're outside in nature, right? Or you're not listening to this. So you have to be real with where you're at. Most of us are inside. I am. I'm watching computers day, right? Because I built my business online, right? We built a coaching business that's, we've had over 2,000 students throughout all of our different programs and such over the last 2 years. That's a lot of time on Zoom calls and FaceTime calls and talking to guys on voice messages and supporting it, right? So I spend the majority of my day in an unnatural environment. That's why I have to do things on purpose, like 10 minutes, get outside and spend some time in the sun. Like I make those purposeful breaks throughout my day and recharges so that I'm purposely connecting with nature and connecting with the natural vibrations and frequencies, which lifts me up, which keeps me energized. So after about 30 days, what happens is your body's produced so much semen now. And yes, you will have a bit bigger balls. You'll notice my balls are bigger because they're full. It's good. There's that saying, like, if you want to keep your man happy, keep his belly full and his balls empty. I don't know if you've ever heard that. Like, I've heard women say that. And I'm will say that. I'm like, yeah, I just need my belly full, my balls empty. I'm good. You need the exact opposite. Yeah. Empty belly, full balls, right? Your balls should be big because they're full, which is also going to metaphorically give you big balls. All of a sudden, you're taking risk in business, calculated risk. Now you're investing in yourself because you have balls to do it. Now, when next time that uncomfortable conversation needs to happen, because you have big balls, you also have big ball psychology. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about what happens after the 30 days. The body starts to go, shit, man, you got a lot of semen. And that's all your best proteins, enzymes, nutrients. Nature's efficient, doesn't waste anything. Says, you know what? This is good. We're now in abundance. We have more energy than you. You'll notice your amount of energy you're going to have is going to be oozing out of you. So you're going to have to put that energy in your business, put that energy in your workouts, put that energy into your relationship, getting those projects done at home, those dreams and ideas, that podcast you want to start, that whatever, you're going to have the energy to go do it. And you're going to have the focus to do it because you're not distracting yourself and messing up all your prefrontal cortex and crap with porn and constant pleasure seeking. Now you're seeking purpose, creation. Now you're aligning with nature. Nature's creating. You better be creating. And creating, there's 8 billion of us now? Creating is like 8 billion different expressions of that, right? So for me, it's my business. It's this. It's my mission. This is what I'm about. So you put it into what you're about, and your body starts to heal, because after 30 days, all your best proteins, enzymes, and nutrients start being recirculated in the body. So this is where guys have reported things like my hair is thicker, or I've grown some hair back, or, like I've noticed that my eyes are brighter. I've just noticed that I overall just feel better about myself. That anxiety's reduced or gone. That social anxiety's gone. Actually, I'm feeling kind of ballsy. Why do you think those sayings exist? Because there's truths hidden within them. They come from old truths that have just become cultural sayings, but lost the meaning. You're ballsy because you're full. Think of your balls not just as sexual organs. Think of them as energy packs. Full energy packs, full energy life, a big energy life. Then you have big energy psychology, because here's the deal. Your sexual energy influences your psychology. So the more that I am full of energy, I unconsciously, like at a like inherent intelligence is what I'm speaking of. Nature says, I got the goods, man. I got the goods. I'm producing, I'm providing, I would make a great catch. Healthy self-image. I'm not just jerking off. I'm not full of anxiety. I'm not full of worries. I've got the energy, so I'm taking care of my basics and above, because I'm abundant. I've got an abundance of energy, so I can have abundant life. Well, now your psychology starts to shift, and this is the biggest difference, man. And if I like, to me, this is a huge blessing, a huge transformation. All of a sudden you start thinking a bit different. You see yourself a bit different because you're holding a higher standard for yourself. You all of a sudden be like, yo, I'm not just gonna sleep with any girl. Yeah, that girl better bring it. If I'm gonna share my seed with, if I'm gonna share my best stuff, and you want me to deplete myself to give something to you, you better be worthy of that. Too many guys are chasing women instead of chasing their dreams, instead of building a life. And then women come to you. I love what 50 Cent said. 50 Cent said, I never lost pussy chasing money, but I lost money chasing pussy. and then so what ends up happening is there's this psychological shift. And when that psychological shift happens, and it's subtle at first, but then it grows. It's like it starts to grow in you, and that becomes the new norm. All of a sudden, you're carrying a very different state. And the state is how you talk to your subconscious mind. Now you see yourself as somebody who's worthy, who's full, who's energetic, who's engaged in his own life. And because you're engaged in your own life, you're winning. And man, there's nothing sexier than a man who's winning at life. To a woman, there is nothing sexier. That's why sometimes you see these butt-ass ugly dudes and they got these hot women, or they've got great relationships. Their wife after 20. I've been with my wife 14 years. We have a great relationship. We're still like the better honeymoon phase. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, now I practice non-ejaculatory sex. So this is where sexual alchemy comes in. Now we start going into like the esoteric parts of it, or the energy work. What ends up happening is, as your semen you become so full, your body's like, man, I got to do something with all this energy. So what happens is your body refines that semen. It goes through another layer of refinement, where think of, and it's an analogy, so it's not the exact same, but just to understand what's happening is, think of water being boiled, turned up, fired. It then becomes gas, or like an invisible energy. It's a spiritual energy now. It's now just energy. It's in a pure form, gas. Well, the same thing happens to semen. It turns into gas. The Vedic word, or the yoga word, is called ojas. And ojas means aura. Your aura. So it turns into an energy, and this energy begins to flow upwards in the body, and it nourishes your body, right? Like think about an energy that's very nourishing. You go into nature, and just by sitting in nature, you feel better.
Yep.
You haven't done nothing, but you're in the right energy, that right state. So because you are so full with sexual vibration, sexual energy, it feeds your aura. It starts to your aura, and around each cell, the vibration or energy of each cell begins to vibrate a little higher. So you all of a sudden become like, think of a vibration, and all of a sudden maybe you were rumbling at like this, like, and then as this starts to refine and move its way through the body, because it's getting all of its best stuff. It's like oiling your engine. You're moving. Now your whole body's becoming oiled up with this sexual vibrant energy. All of a sudden your vibration goes from to, and that vibration is a higher frequency. And that higher frequency gives you a higher state. So what emanates out from you is a very high frequency and a very attractive frequency and energy. And now when you go on your sales calls, people are just captivated. They're like, okay, this is different. And you didn't even say nothing. Or maybe you just said a few things. Your energy will communicate, I'm a man of high value. I'm a man who brings it. I'm a man who's got his shit together. You think that's not attractive to women or prospective clients? If you're going to hire a coach, you want the coach who's got his shit together. You want the coach who's depleted of energy and doesn't have enough energy to keep up with your goals. So you have to become what I call a powerhouse man. Power means power within you. Means the little definition of power is the ability to do. Do you have the ability to get the results that you want in your life? When you do, when you have that power, power grows. You become more and more powerful as time goes on. It's like a muscle. It gets stronger and stronger the more you exercise it. And then house. What is the house? The body. The power is stored within the body. It's not outside yourself. It's inside yourself. And the battery pack is your balls. Now, what sexual alchemy does is it, through meditations, breath work, and muscle control, we fuse your consciousness, your balls, your basic animalistic, I want to fucking fight, to your heart. I want to love. I want to connect. I want to inspire. I want to, whatever is in your heart, maybe create, maybe art, maybe sports. So many expressions. It's coming from the heart. And then we fuse it with the brain, which is the function of getting creative intellectual thought and higher thinking to make that come into fruition. So when balls, heart, and brain are one, you're one as a man. You're a Jedi. The word Jedi means light. And his light stick, Luke Skywalker's Jedi light stick, is an analogy for the spine. Is your stick lit up? Is your spine lit up? Is your energy flowing upwards in the body, which is higher consciousness, intellect, genius? That's why Nikola Tesla was a celibate, because he was a genius. That's why the modern day Tesla, Mr. Musk there, right? Sending people to fucking space and shit, doing all kinds. How does he have? He said himself, I think it was on a Joe Rogan podcast. Somebody could correct me. But he said the amount of energy wasted going to sex with no purpose is just crazy. So you think, you think Elon Musk is jerking off to porn all day? Nah, he's sending people to the moon, man. He's sending people to Mars. He's living his dream. He's changing society. Maybe you're not changing society, but can you change your family? Yeah. If you're a man, you have the power to change your family. You have the power to change your finances. You have the power. You can grow a business. I know I ain't sending people to space. I ain't no Elon Musk. I'm building sexual alchemy. That's how I'm changing the world, though. What are you building? That's all going to come from your sexual energy, because your sexual energy, when it's not used for sex, it's going to be used for something. Energy doesn't die. Energy doesn't go somewhere. It has to be used. So when you become sexually focused and disciplined with your sexuality, and you consciously cultivate lots of it and use it. Like, I have non-ejaculatory sex so that I can cultivate lots of energy. Man, I have a 2-hour session with my wife, circulate that energy through my different energy points and channels through the meditations that we practice and teach. And then I go make social media content. Then I come and I'm like, bah, 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 I'm on fire, man. I'm like, yeah. You think that that's not getting results? We launched this business 2 years ago using all of these techniques. And I had another business before this teaching men how to generate sales online, teaching conscious entrepreneurs how to generate sales. And I still do that. But then I launched this whole sexual alchemy training as well. And the sexual alchemy training has just blown up, because not only can it be used in your business, but it's a core transformation. So it improves your health. First of all, the first Napoleon Hill in Think and Grow Rich. So if you haven't read Think and Grow Rich, first of all, everybody write that down. If you've never heard of it, go read the book Think and Grow Rich. Chapter 11 is the mysteries of sex transmutation. So Napoleon Hill talks about, and if you're not familiar with Napoleon Hill, he did a 25-year study on the most successful people on the planet in the 1920s. And he just talked about their ability to get rich. Now, he didn't put morality around it, just like what I'm doing with sexuality. He's just delivered as is. We could discuss about whether that was good or bad, or the evil, or but just here's how people get rich. Done, right? Here's how you can use your sexuality. Chapter 11, it's a whole chapter. He given these laws. It's a whole chapter. He dedicates to sex transmutation, that only when a man matures in his sexual energy and expression, and his energy just goes from a raw lust to a love and a faith, till he knows how to do this, he'll never produce anything more than the animal, because he'll want to do, he'll do just enough to get by, because he has just enough energy to survive. I eat, I sleep, I fuck, or I jerk off now. I eat, I sleep, I jerk off. I work so I can survive and pay my bills. But do I have but is my bank account growing? Am I stashing cash for the future? Am I building something that's meaningful? Is my family falling apart, or is my family healthy, strong? And like, how are you leading? Look around. The results will tell you the answer. And most of us don't like the answer, so we hide it. Drugs, alcohol, Netflix for 4 hours. Hey, I like a little Netflix too. I'm a Peaky Blinders fan. Thomas Shelby, what's up? Right? I love Vikings. I love those shows too, because I love the strong male archetype. And that's what those shows are. It's why we love those shows. They did a study about why people love The Sopranos. People love The Sopranos because Tony Soprano is a man who's like attractive to people, because they're like, now, am I a killer? Am I going to be a gangster? I'm not a gangster. I'm not a killer. I don't believe that's being a man anyways. I believe being a man is being responsible, having enough energy to provide and protect. As men, we should be up before our women. We should be up before our kids, getting the day set. So when they're ready, we're already ready to go. And then we're there to provide, protect, get them dressed, get them out to school. Make sure your wife is set up for the day. What's she up to? What's she doing? You're not doing it to check up on her. You're doing it to support her. How can I support you in having a successful day, babe? I've already been up for 3 hours, got my meditation in, got my workout in. Now it's right. See, if you start your day behind everybody and in lack of energy, you start your day in a deficit. You want to start your day in a surplus or a deficit? Which one makes more sense? All right, I know I've been on a rant, man. I hope you don't mind this. This is like, I'm so passionate about this. I truly believe that this knowledge has changed my life. And that's why I'm like, everybody's got to know this, man. Everybody's got to know this. And there's a whole cultural pushback. We got this whole, it's a cultural shift. So it's very difficult, man. All right, now let's take it to the level. So we took it at the level of biology. We talked about it at a psychological level. It Remember, mind and body are one. Improve your body, your mind improves. You know who knows that? Gym guys. I have high respect for guys who go to the gym. A lot of people look at gym guys and they're like, oh, it's just about looking good. And no doubt, there's like, yeah, I want to look good and I want to have big butt because that's attractive too. Why wouldn't you want to look good? Everybody wants to look good. Everybody wants to look the best they can. Am I ever going to be a 6'2" blonde guy? It ain't going to happen. Not for me. Not in this life. I'm a 5'8" brown guy, 5'8" on the in the morning, 5'7" by the time I go to bed. Right, right. So you have to be who you are. Don't change your life. Improve your life. Like people are like, I got to change my life. I'll never help anybody change their life, but I'll help you improve the life you have. Because you have to be real. Where are you at? Get started. Go from there. So the psychological aspects are tremendous. Gym guys understand that when they work out, their mindset improves. And all of a sudden, it was Friday night, a couple weeks ago. I was at the gym and there was just a few of us. It was a Friday night, so it was pretty empty. And you know who was there though? All the guys who were like ripped, right? And I'm like, yeah, look who's here on a Friday night. Where's everybody else? They're pre-drinking already because it was like 9. So like we know in the overall culture, where are you at in the world?
I'm in South Carolina.
You're in South Carolina.
Yep.
I haven't been that far south on the East Coast. North Carolina is the furthest south I've been.
It's pretty close. It's just a little bit like probably 10 degrees warmer. So most of the time. Yeah, so. Yeah, I actually I was born in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, so I'm Canadian. And then I was raised in Colorado. So I migrated here for more warmth. um, yeah, I personally I love the warm weather, but I also moved here just because me and my wife just wanted to create like a new start, like get things fresh and change things up a bit. So
good for
we
you.
moved on out. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, good for you, man. I've been to Saskatoon, so I'm in Canada. I'm in New Brunswick, a little town called St. John, New Brunswick. Beautiful. We moved out here from Toronto, and I've traveled all across the U.S. and I love it. I've never been to South Carolina, but North Carolina, I love the people. First of all, I love the accent. I could just listen to the way that people from at least North Carolina speak, and it's just so like soothing and so warm, like so warm. Like I just felt like everybody there was super friendly to me, and I just had a great. I've been there a few times. Charlotte specifically,
Oh yeah.
North, and I just had always had such a positive experience there. Anyways, so I don't know I don't know how we got onto that. I was like, how did we get onto? Now I'm thinking about Saskatoon. I'm like, how did we get there?
I think you were talking about like just like society, like how it is, like in the area you're at.
Well, right, right. So the area, okay. So where I'm at, I got myself here. My train of thoughts back. So I'm at the gym. I'm talking to these guys, and so we're kind of just like motivating each other. Oh, I remember I said to the guy next to me on the gym, I'm like, this is the place to be on a Friday night. And he turns around and he's like, fuck yeah. And he goes on this whole rant because he's full of energy, right? He goes on this whole rant on how like what's everybody doing right now. So in our culture where I'm living, and the way that I grew up, at 9 o'clock on a Friday, you're pre-drinking. You're at somebody's house. This is the way I grew up. Friday night, I'm at somebody's house, a couple shots and a couple joints in, to get ready to go to then some club or bar to get even drunker and higher, maybe make out with someone, maybe touch somebody's titty, maybe get laid. 80% of the time I'm going home to eat Mickey D's and
Yep.
I don't do this shit no more, but that's right. This is how I grew up. And that's the culture largely. That's what's going on. Some version of that, right? Some your own version of that. And everybody's got a version of that, right? And so I'm there now. Now it's Friday night and I'm at the gym. And yeah, so and I was like, and then I'm like, so this guy goes on a rant and I'm like, yeah, man. And I'm like, you know what? And he starts to go on about, and you know what, tomorrow morning and for the next 2 days, they're gonna they're gonna be sleepy, groggy, grumpy. They ain't gonna do nothing. He's like, I'm planning on coming back here tomorrow. We're going hiking. We're going like the difference in energy is going to be a massive difference. So gym guys understand that as your body gets stronger, your mind gets stronger, and you start to give up the lower stuff. You start to give up the bullshit and you start to put yourself into the higher pleasures. You could create bigger lives for yourself. So with semen retention, with sexual alchemy, it does the same thing for you. Now you couple that with the lifestyle change of working out and eating well, and it's a whole, you give this a year. I say you give my training, you give me 1 year, I give you a whole new life.
Love
Not
that.
change. You are who you are, but you're going to love yourself. You're going to accept yourself and you're going to improve your life. And you can do so much within a year under the right mentorship and with the right focus. Like you could spend 10 years doing it by yourself, or you can get into under the right people and you could cut that down to 6 months to a year simply because you're going to avoid a lot of nonsense and bullshit. And you're going to get into a flow and a thought process that works. And that's the secret. If you want more money, you have to hang out with people with more money. If you want a healthier lifestyle, you have to hang out with people. And that's why coaches exist, right? Because as coaches, right, that's the best coaches in the world live their what they're coaching. I live sexual alchemy. I live semen retention. I live it. I was made fun of all over the world by mainstream media because I ran in the last Canadian federal election. So if you Google Nakula does PPC, PPC stands for People's Party of Canada, right? I ran in the last Canadian federal election. My campaign went worldwide. I was on the Howard Stern show telling Howard Stern why he should practice semen retention. He hung up on me. It's on my YouTube. You can listen to the interview. Me telling Howard Stern. And they reached out to me. Why? Because my campaign was making so much headway and I was talking about all kinds of stuff that was going against the mainstream narrative. Mainstream just came down on me and made me look up to be crazy. Men running for Canadian Parliament doesn't want men to ejaculate. That was like the headlines, you know? And I'm campaigning. I'm knocking on people's doors and I'm going to debates. And I got freaking the whole community laughing at me. I was literally putting up a lawn sign, like, you know, with my name on it to be like, you know, vote Nick type thing, right? I got people driving by going, the fucking ball breather, you know, blah, 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 all this stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm grateful for that experience, man, because first of all, it made me tough as shit. I also recognize how ignorant society is. And I'm like, great, this is a great opportunity to go out and make a massive difference.
Mm-hmm.
So here's the thing. At the psychological level, you're going to get focused and stronger. To me, it's the biggest blessing of the practice. Now, for guys who are spiritually inclined or who are interested in consciousness, awareness, self-awareness, and growing in self-awareness, what the techniques and practices do and what sex transmutation does is because you're learning to move energy within your body, you're learning to consciously breathe in your body, you're working with your body at a very intimate level and a very real level, your consciousness naturally expands. And because it starts to become more aware of your subtle energies and your thought processes, and you're consciously creating it through the process. So therefore, you're starting to really become aware of your inner world and how it's influencing the outer world and how it's attracting your experiences. So you become highly aware of this, which then naturally leads you to an expanded consciousness, which we can chalk up to a spiritual experience, where you start to recognize your own self as part and parcel of the bigger picture. Fuck the politics and the blah blah blah. Let's get to real life. You're connected to the sun. You're connected to the moon. Like there's a whole thing going on. There's a whole game going on. So much bigger than you know whether a man could be a woman or a woman could be a man or whatever the hell's going on out there, right? That shit's small potatoes. There is a massive. You're living in a massive living organism and you're part of it. And you have a duty to it. You have a duty to pull your weight. You have a personal, you've been given a gift called service. And this consciousness naturally starts to grow in men. And this is where we become something totally different. This is where I will say your life may change. Like you may decide, I'm leaving this job and I'm going and start my own business because I recognize I'm a powerful man. I'm a powerhouse man. I have the ability to create wealth. So I'm going to do money different now. And I have the ability to create an awesome relationship and marriage. I'm not buying into this bullshit about you have to live in a sexless, passionate relationship because you've been together for long. You just have no creativity, imagination, or the energy to pull it off.
Yeah.
Right? Or I am going to lose this weight and I am going to make better decisions. So I'm a great example for my kids and my community. And I'm going to be a better boss and leader. And I am going to be a better coach and trainer. And I am going to see that consciousness naturally starts to grow in you. And that through that lens, through that inner lens, that awareness, you start to really develop into a whole different character, the character, the quality of man you are begins to. That's what we call a high value man, right? Because your values really start to shine through, and you start living your life very deeply connected with your own energies and values. And again, there's sexual alchemy isn't a religion. It's not a set of rules. It's not a set of doctrines. It's techniques. It's a technology. Here's how you use your breath to master your ejaculation so you can have non-ejaculatory sex. Here's how you master your nervous system so you can calm yourself down or hype yourself up when you need to go do something. Here's how you can circulate energy through the body and literally feel into the state you're living in. Here's how you shift your state from sad, depressed, or unmotivated to motivated and ready to conquer. Right? That's not belief systems. That's just practical applications. And so that's what we're doing. And it's so powerful. And of course, the combination, specifically if you're an entrepreneur or a coach or a trainer, you combine your sexual energy and prowess mixed with good business acumen and strategy. That's what Steve Jobs did. Look what he created. What could you create in 10 years? What could you create in 20 years if you were thinking long term, became a focused, dedicated man for the next 10 years? What would your life look like? It would just it's incredible. It's incredible.
Yeah, I love that. And I love your passion. Like it's awesome. You can definitely tell you have a lot of energy and you care a lot about this. So I do have a couple questions from your stories. So one of them, I think I listened to your podcast with Nathan Francis, and you were talking about how, Napoleon Hill, like the Think and Grow Rich, it had some of the information in it. But like he didn't like complete it. Like he never like gave all the information in it. So where did you find your other techniques? Where did what kind of stuff did you research to actually find that information? Because you're the first time I ever heard about it. Like I haven't read that book. I know about Napoleon Hill. I haven't read his book. So like this is the first time I ever heard about like sexual transmutation. So like where did you actually find this information? I'm curious.
Yeah, that's a great question. And like most people, I started with the almighty Google, right?
Oh yeah.
So what ended up happening is I started going down like studying different spiritual paths. So I learned about sex transmutation by Napoleon Hill. That was like the first time I was introduced to the idea or this concept that as men, how we use our sexual energy is going to impact our overall success in life and what we can create. And so it didn't really sink in. It's kind of like, yeah, I read it. I'm good. I'm young and horny, so I'm all right, But as we start getting older, and life's responsibilities take its toll. Myself and my wife, we went through a period. We've always had a great relationship and a strong relationship, but we did go through a period where things were super tough financially. Like we were really stressed out, and man, we weren't having any sex, or the connection was definitely weaker. Like, and so I understood like how the impact of it. I kind of intuitively just could be aware enough to understand. Yeah, I get what he's saying. Like when I jerk off, I do like just want to like my motivation's gone, that type of thing. then I started getting into different philosophies. So I started with Buddhism, and that led me down the yogic path, and then hooking up with like the Hare Krishnas. And then I studied like esoteric Christianity and the Gnostics. And then I started studying like what the Druids were doing and what the Taoists were doing and what the so and I still do. Like this is my passion. Like, you know, it's like how were all these secret societies, all of them, like, you notice all the elites are always caught in some sex thing, right? Like it's like I'm like, what, there is a link, there's something here about the way that we about the success or the power that we have in this world and our sexual energy, because all powerful men were doing it, right? And are doing some form of sexual thing. And it's like, what is up with that? And so Napoleon Hill says it's the most highly sexed men are also the most charismatic, they're most attractive. That energy is their secret sauce, right? And so I started through the yogic path. Now the yogis, they speak about it in a very like spiritual sense, very like this is for them. It's all about spirituality. It's all about consciousness, transcending sex, even being in sexless states. And I've tried that. Like I've gone months where I was literally like trying not to even think of sex. Like if sex would come into my mind, I would dismiss it. And it definitely, like, there's a peace and that just is there. Like it's undeniable. So that's what the yogis and stuff were doing it. Me, I was like, shit, man, like I'm not there. Like that's the truth. Like I'm still very much have worldly goals and worldly ambitions and believe that my life is, if I'm here on the planet, I want to be about the planet. And I'll think about my afterlife, you know, type of thing.
Yep.
Like, I don't want to say I'm neglecting like this idea of where my soul may go or not go, because I do believe that the soul, I don't care what you believe in, because this is, I can't tell you this is true, but the information that I have tells me that our energy go somewhere, because energy doesn't die. So something happens. There is a part of me that's eternal. I acknowledge that. And I go, and I believe that we cultivate that. We can consciously cultivate our energy. I don't believe that. I know that from personal realization and experience because of these practices. You can shift your consciousness. I've done it. So I know, okay, consciousness shifts and then life shifts. So I really resonated with the information, and I learned lots from the yogis, but application of it was very difficult for me because I don't live in a monk. I'm not a monk. I'm not a priest. I have friends that are monks. I've trained monks. Monks are using sexual alchemy in their application, but I'm not a monk. And I'm like, my wife's hot, man, and I'm like really attracted. Like I'm still having sex. But I was seeing all these benefits of semen retention. I'm like, come on, there's got to be like something. So that's when I started learning about Tantra and the practice of Tantra as a sexual practice and non-ejaculatory sex and non-ejaculatory orgasms. And then from Tantra, I learned about the Taoists. And the Taoists, I started looking at the Taoist teachings and how they viewed energy and energy work. And they have a whole system and process that I started learning. So I hired tons of coaches and mentors, and I've been through teach and trainings and started practicing these techniques and breath work and then I just and I'm still on that train. Like that's just what I do now. Now I'm like I've got books lined up that I probably won't finish reading in this lifetime about the knowledge of sexual mastery and sexual alchemy. I'm reading one book right now called Sex, Spirits, and Sorcery, talking about how sex magic works, right? And I've experimented and done stuff with sex magic and being able to manifest with sexual energy, and it's powerful. So I just went down this like rabbit hole, and I'm still down it, and it's led to a business, and just as for me, it's this huge path of discovery and learning and growing. So to name some sources, right? The Taoist teachings, the Vedas. So we're talking books like Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, which talks about the semen flowing upwards and how there was these powerful yogis that would use semen retention and semen, power semen. Mahatma Gandhi talked about, he had very controversial practices. A lot of people always have, had weird practices, but he talks lots in his letters to his personal disciples about semen preservation and sexual mastery and control. then started looking at more like the pagans and how they looked at it, and they were like a lot into understanding and using this energy. And they all present their own different moral and cultural and aspects and beliefs, and I listen to it all and take it all in, and then apply what basically what I find beneficial for me in my life. And that's how I teach it as well. That's why I could teach guys who are interested in being more attracted to women to a monk, because how you apply the technology is up to you. Just like a phone, I can use my phone to connect with people, great people all over the world, and build a business and a life, or I can use my phone to drain my energy and jerk off to porn all day. The phone is not the problem. The technology is not the problem. It's how you're using it. So sexual energy in itself is neither a good or bad thing, a right or wrong thing. It's an energy. Now, how you use it, it's going to have its different results. So you want to use it consciously. You want to know what you're doing, right? If I give you a gun, you want to know. If I give you a loaded weapon, you want to know what you're doing with that. If not, that same loaded weapon that can be used to protect your family and your private property, Mr. Trudeau, is uh, is uh, is uh, is the same weapon, though can be used for harm. So the weapon itself is not the problem. The consciousness is the problem, or not the problem, right? And that's what you got to be able to do. So I started studying from the yogis, the Taoists. Then I started looking at university studies. There's a wonderful TED talk called Your Brain on Porn, which pretty much launched the NoFap kind of movement, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so there's tons of information around NoFap and pornography. There's tons of Western studies. So if you're like, I need more Western, like give me some science type of stuff. There's just type in semen retention studies of science, and there's tons of different studies, university studies that have been done on semen retention, the confirming the spikes on testosterone and such. As I grow my business, I'm going to be definitely putting more resources into funding my own scientific studies and research on it. That way, we can validate or not validate things. I always tell guys, be your own scientist. Give it
Yeah.
a try. Like this whole idea. I get that all the time. Tell me the science behind talking about, right? And I'm like,
Uh-huh.
first of all, even if I was to give it to you, would you understand it? Like, you know what I mean? Like, right? I'm like, and it's not very complicated science. We're talking some basic biology here, right? It's not like, crazy stuff we're
Mhm.
talking, right? Anyways, but I always say, be your own scientist, experiment. Go 30 days without watching porn, jerking off, or ejaculating. First of all, see if you can do it. Tell me
Yep.
after 2 weeks how you feel. Tell me after 3 weeks how you feel. And tell me after 4 weeks if you're not ready to bust a major nut or you're ready to conquer the world, right? Like, notice what it does to your behaviors and psychologies, and how it shifts you. Then you're your own scientist. Then you'll know from practical experience whether it works or not, whether it's beneficial for you or not. So if you're open-minded enough, be a scientist and do it. Let's do an experiment. I'll be happy to give you some resources to get started. Um, so I read those type of stuff because I really wanted to, because I'm a skeptical guy. I wanted
Mhm.
to know, right? Like, I'm like, I was like, well, what is there any science? Like, is there any science behind this? And there's tons. Um, and and so there's different universities that you could cite. Then there's wonderful books like there's a book called the Semen Retention Miracle. There's books on tantra. There's books on Osho, on consciousness and sex. Osho, he's got a really interesting book called Sex to Super Consciousness that talks about how sex over time, once it's transmuted and becomes spiritualized, it expands our consciousness. He talks about how certain temples are set up with sexual images outside, but inside there's no sex. And he talks about that as an analogy of going from sex to spirit, right? So, so those are some, to name a few things. I can't name off the top of my head everything I've read and studied and
No, you're
still
fine.
continue. I'm still in my head. I'm new. I just started and I'm scratching the surface on it. I've been in the world of personal development and transformation close to a decade, generally around building businesses and sales. And now I've fused that together. And that's why I say I'm finishing Napoleon Hill's work, because I take everything Napoleon Hill teaches in that book and I give it to my students, and I've put it in processes and systems to apply it. Except I give you the one thing Napoleon Hill didn't give you, which is a process of how to transmute your sexual energy. Because Napoleon Hill talks about it. He talks about its importance, but he never tells you how. And the how has largely been hidden from society. And there's lots of history behind that too. The Yellow Emperor in China discovered the scriptures, or the texts, I should just say, of on sexual kung fu or sexual alchemy from the Wudang temples when they invaded those temples. And they, if anybody's ever seen the show Marco Polo, all right, there's a monk there, 100 eyes, and the Mongolian the Khan took over the temple, right? That's like I don't know the Mongolian history that well, but the Chinese took over some Wudang temples, the Taoist temples, and the Yellow Emperor discovered the texts on sexual transmutation, sexual alchemy, and its power. And he saw that the monks there and the men there, they were young, they were 50s and 60s, but they looked young and they were vibrant and they were powerful warriors. And so he kidnapped some of the monks, kept them in his palace as his own servants, and he learned. And it was said that he would sleep with multiple women every night, but never ejaculate, to circulate and accumulate that energy. And he became one of the most powerful emperors. King Solomon, I think King Solomon had like 500 or 600 wives or something like this, and was arguably one of the richest, if not one of the richest men, even by today's calculations, to ever have lived on the planet. And yeah, he was known to be using sexual alchemy and transmutation and these practices. So I always look at what the best of the best are doing and be like, why is it that they don't want us to know about it, right? Mm-hmm. And so those are some references of where I started to get this information.
Great. Yeah, I mean, that's a lot. That's awesome. I was just thinking, like, yeah, people were interested, like, where are some areas they could start, and you gave plenty of options to like look down, and that's awesome. I feel like that's really the best way to do it, right? Like, go do your own research and be your own scientist and try it out. I love that. Because like it doesn't cost anything, right? It saves you time, it saves you your energy, so might as well just give it a try. Like, literally doesn't cost you one penny to try this. So I definitely recommend trying it. I know it's changed my life, just cutting the porn out of my life, and just like, I don't do like the no ejaculatory sex. I don't even know. I haven't heard about that, but I have to look into that now.
Yeah, so I'll send you some stuff after. Basically, I mean, I've got a free resource called the Free Sex Transmutation Guide, and that's a great place to start. I give a bunch of information and more knowledge about the subject in that. Plus, I give you an actual routine that you can use to start to feel what when I say techniques, meditations, what exactly am I talking about? Well, it's kind of like, if you don't know what a banana tastes like, it's hard to describe what a banana tastes like. Like, yeah, I don't know, just eat the banana. They don't know what it tastes like, right? So similarly, do the program, do some of the practices. I gave a simple routine in that. It's all free. It sets you up. Of course, I've got my paid programs, my higher level programs, all that kind of stuff. But that's a great place to start and get you going. And then, you take it from there.
I love that. And so I was thinking about, you said you went into politics, right? So obviously you're not in politics anymore. So why did you try going into politics in the first place? And why did you kind of step back from that? Just curious.
Yeah, sure. So I got into politics mainly around the issue of whether vaccination should be mandated. Mm-hmm. And I still am a no, that they should not be mandated. If people want to take a vaccine, then that can be an option. If big pharma wants to sell vaccines and people want to take those vaccines, then I do believe in freedom, free markets, and let people make their own choices, but give people the different sides of the equation and argument. When only one narrative of anything, of any situation, it doesn't matter what it is being pushed, and another narrative is not, or is being stifled out or filtered out specifically, then I would question the intentions. Because even in this, that's why I'm saying to you, like, do your own research, right? You can believe me about sexual alchemy and sex, or you cannot. but you'll never really know until only if you want or desire it enough to know, then you'll go and you'll practice or you'll invest and you'll do something about it, right? So I really believe in that. And so I got involved with politics because I saw that the politicians here in Canada in my local area were nobody was speaking up or nobody was giving the side of the story that I felt, which was I don't want to take a vaccine. I live a very natural lifestyle. I believe in natural immunity. I believe that yes, we should obviously have a responsibility to protect people if there's something going around. But as the pandemic went on and the more numbers started coming out, my fear of it dropped. I did everything everyone else did at the beginning. I stayed home. I wore the mask. I bought toilet paper, like all that kind of shit, right? But as it went on, for me, I was like, I think there's a political agenda that's been attached to this.
Mhm.
So I got involved with politics because I felt that it was very important that there was a strong voice to stand up. And I used my voice and I stood up. So I was elected. I became a candidate with the People's Party of Canada, and I ran in the federal election, and I made a splash, man.
Oh
I got
yeah.
it. I got into a street argument with the Minister of Education. I had the premier, on me. I like because I made a serious splash because I told the truth, and they did not like it. And
Mhm.
now the reason I was involved with politics for about 2.5, close to 3 years. Now, the reason I got out of politics is for a couple reasons. So one, personally, it's a very, very negative space.
Mhm.
And I found myself just being angry and frustrated. And everything that I don't like about politics, I felt myself becoming and
Mhm.
getting sucked into. And I recognize while there's a lot of good, there's a lot of just bullshit, which everybody knows about politics. We kind of all accept and I just didn't want to do the bullshit. And I like things that are real. So a lot of it just started becoming playing to the audience as opposed to like, discussing real things. And then I thought to myself, that doesn't feel right for me anymore. It kind of was like, I jumped in when I felt it was needed for me to jump in,
Mhm.
but then there was an internal conversation that was like, okay, man, you did your job, you held the line, you held strong. If they come again, I'm ready. But the rest of this, I don't really care about. Like
Mhm.
whether we pay 2 cents on gas or not, like it that doesn't drive me enough to be involved,
Mhm.
right? And I don't desire power over people. So I don't need to be in a position where I want to make rules all day long and discuss policies all day long. If it comes to what I believe is a human over, I believe mandating someone to take anything
Mhm.
that they don't want to take is overstepping not just God, not man-made laws, but I believe you're overstepping natural law now, God
Mhm.
law,
Mhm.
real law, right? Which is I have no right to tell you what you can or can't do for your medical choices and decisions, right? So that's my personal take on that. So I felt I got involved for the cause that I got involved for. Things have cooled off. I don't need to be there. So
Mhm.
I moved away. Second reason is during that time, I really saw how the attack on masculinity is a political thing.
Oh yeah.
So I got to meet a lot of politicians. I spent 3 days on tour. I spent a lot of one-on-one time with Maxime Bernier, who was Canada's foreign minister and now leader of the PPC, right? And I got to learn lots, and I got to see lots of the inside world of politics. And I recognize that this attack on masculinity is a political thing, and it is being done to us. And so I was like, we have to shift. This is not a political issue; it's a cultural issue, and it's cultural influencers can actually stop this and can realign us with nature's ways. Politicians are more like opportunists, and if their message happens to align with what the culture wants, they get elected, and if they don't, they don't. So if we shift the culture, then the right politicians will be elected. If we don't shift the culture, the right politicians won't be elected. And so I felt I could make a more of a difference and a global impact instead of a local. Like for me, politics was very localized, right? Like I was beefing with the minister of education and the health minister and the premier and all that kind of stuff. But that's very local, right? Globally, and this is a global world, so our impact can be global. I felt that this attack on masculinity is happening globally, and this is a global thing. This is a global opportunity to make a shift in a really big way. And so I decided that I would move forward. And that was not just my decision, but my wife too. I got attacked like crazy by the woke left,
Mhm.
right? Because I was, they got these drag queens that come to these libraries and tell stories. And so they were coming here to my local area. And I basically did a video and social media, and it ended up all in the news. And, I've received death threats and all kinds of different things. So I've experienced criticism and hate at some of its highest levels. When you're waking up every morning for a week straight with 4 to 5 messages about, I hope you get punched, I hope someone kills you, you're right, all of this stuff, and that's just your consist. You really have to develop a mindset. Now, fortunately, I have sexual alchemy and semen retention, and I was like, actually, there was one really nice article where something that was written about me was like why I'm voting for the guy who retains his semen, and it was a great article just talking about this is a guy who will stick to his values and blah blah. And this practices semen. We need more leaders. That was probably 1 out of 100, which were like making fun of me. There was like one that was like, "This is why I'm giving my vote to this guy because of his semen retention." Right. So, anyways, so I recognize too. It took a real toll on my family and my business. That was a year and a half. Well, not even. That was where we're 2023 to 2021. That's like a year and a half ago now, right? We decided, you know what? We said we did what we needed to do. Let's now focus on this business because I had launched this business while being involved with politics. So I always had my business as part time. Now, I've run online businesses for close to 10 years. I know how to make money part time, and I still made 100K part time. But from a mission perspective, I wasn't reaching the amount of guys. Like I wasn't doing interviews like this. I was like nothing I was doing nothing. I was just doing YouTube, Instagram, and generating, my clients that way. But now I'm doing interviews like this, and I'm getting out there in a more public way with this business and with this mission and with this message. And I believe that this message is more impactful. And I believe that this message will make a bigger difference than me sitting in, meetings, talking about policies that 95% of them I don't really have a passion or care about, right?
Yep.
And so I just felt that politics was great, and it gave me a lot of connections and experience and a mindset where I was like, great, now let's go do something and do it on such a big level that the world will never forget. And it's like sexual alchemy. This will transform the globe if we're able to give it to enough men,
Yeah, that's fantastic. I love that you stood up and that you like, spoke your truth. I definitely think it's a big part of it. Like you had that testosterone, that you had the energy to stand up and fight. So the fact that you're sharing that with other people now is amazing because we need more of that. Like I would have voted for you, I know. But like, yeah, I mean, we definitely need more of that in the world. We definitely need more men, like actual men, like with their testosterone and this toxic masculinity stuff is just ridiculous. It's kind of like the design of the system right now, of course.
what
um
by design. The
mhm,
attack on masculinity is that's what I learned. It's by design. The reason that pornography and is being just widespreadly delivered out here like crazy, like is it's being delivered. It's a psychological warfare,
mhm,
and many people are succumbing to it. And that also is because we're weak. When I say we're weak, I include myself in that. Like that's why I eat healthy now and I work out now, and because I'm like, man, I shouldn't be so weak as a man, physically and mentally. So it's time to really take like, we can blame government, we can blame, that's what politics does.
mhm.
If I run in politics, it's about blaming the other politicians, so you vote for me instead, right? That's that game. But what we're working with now is much more positive, much more healthier, which is Who cares what the government's doing? Just get yourself healthy, and nobody will be able to do anything because you'll be independent. You'll be free. You'll have enough energy, power within yourself. Powerhouse, man. You're a powerhouse. You have enough energy and ability to get things done and complete things that you can, whatever happens. I love the saying, a bird sits comfortably on a branch, not because it has faith in the branch, but because it knows it has wings to fly.
Mm-hmm.
So as men, we are fulfilled and feel the best when we are confident that I don't know what the government's doing and I don't know what the interest rates are going to be like. And I don't care if we're going through what they call a recession I don't give a shit because I'm out there living my own life, winning. And it doesn't matter what they do because I have the ability to create my life. And they're only as powerful as we ever let them be.
Yep.
That's what I learned. I'm like, I gained some influence, some small power, while I was in politics, influence. And I'm like, they only give it to me. It's not really mine. I don't really have power or influence. Then you go real divine, right? That shit comes from, you know what I mean? Nobody, you people have to give it to you. Meaning if you don't give it, they don't have it. That's why they tell you need them. Right? And if all the strong men go away, then the whole society, instead of your wife being dependent on you and your kids being dependent on you, they're now dependent on government checks and they're now dependent on government housing, which then they need you to work in their factories and they need you so that you can pay your taxes and pay for it. So the more that you ask the government to do, the more you pay in your labor and time. The more you do, the more you win back your labor and time. Your labor and time goes immediately to your life and family. And I believe that's where it should be. Why should you be paying for me and my family? I'm a man. I can take care of me and my family. You're a man. You take care of you and your family. And guess what? Now we'll be living in abundance. And when we come together, we can sharpen each other and we can exchange goods and services and products and all that stuff. And we can enhance each other's family. But that means it starts with what's going on in you as a man and then in your four walls in your home. The battle is won in the home, not in the political realm.
Oh,
and
yeah.
that's why cultural influencing is or influencers are more important than politicians in this day and age.
Mm-hmm. I completely agree with that. Like it all does start with us. Like we have our own power. Like I believe, like, like you said, it doesn't matter what you really believe in, like religion wise, the God, the divine energy, whatever, that we have the power to create, right? Like we know through quantum physics now that like everything is made up of just energy. Like
Right.
literally everything is energy. So like when you talked about like building up your energy, your sexual energy, like I completely see why that's so important. And we are literally creating things. Like when we are watching that porn all the time, we're manifesting more of that into our life, right? Like we're creating more of that into our life, and that creates a cycle. So I completely agree with that.
Now, a lot of guys are going to hear that and go, yeah, that sounds great to me, right? You know what I mean? Right? Like, right? But what you're absorbing is not just the experience. Maybe you might get the experience of it, but you'll be so depleted you won't even be able to perform like you want to perform, right? So first of all, and you won't actually be able to create that scenario even in the screen, because women, you got to understand women's psychology. Women would love to give you porn like sex. Like I've had many women say to me, oh, the soft stuff, the tantric stuff, the kareza, which are all like different ways of having sex that's of like not porn sex, but like love making, right? Tantric sex. Well, I like that. It's intimate. It's beautiful. I feel connected. Sometimes though, I just want to I want the porn. Like I want him to bend me over and just like I want that. And I'm like, no, I get that. I want to do that. Like, don't get me wrong. I said, but here's the thing. And here's what guys got to understand. For her to want to do that for you, you have to be powerful.
Oh yeah.
You have to be like where she's like feels so like, oh my God, this is a man, like just take me, right? So she's so surrendered to you, submissive. But you don't get submissive or surrendered women. That's highly misunderstood as you just dominate by like being a dick or an ass. That's not You do it again through your energy. So a lot of guys, I'd love to recreate that. I'm like, first of all, you think you would, but you wouldn't, because you will. It's not. It's that's fake. What you're
Mhm.
seeing is fake. It's actors. It's you know what I mean. It's like it's cut. Go fluff him.
Mhm.
Cut. Get a big angle so his 7 inch dick or his 6 inch or 5 inch dick. Right. I think average dick size is 6.5 inches. I think doesn't matter. Women don't care about that. After 2 or 3 inches within our vagina, there's no sensation, anyways. Right? It's like, but guys are now having all this penis inferiority complexes and all these insecurity because you're watching, because that's what you're getting from it.
Mhm.
What you're going to create is false images that don't
Mhm.
align with reality, and then you're going to try to go create that or try to get that, and it won't happen, and then you're going to be disappointed and you're going to think it's your fault. It's not. You're not watching real. The reason I was at the gym this morning, and one of the screens is True Lies. I don't know if you know that movie, but True Lies. It's an older movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger. Anyway, so I'm on the gym. I'm on the treadmill just warming up, right? So I do a 10-minute warm up, and I'm watching this movie, and it's a part where this plane flies up, like in the middle of the city. This plane flies up and like hovers like on a skyscraper and like shoots out like an entire floor with this jet plane, right? Something that could just
Mhm.
never, just so unrealistic, but it's a movie, right?
Right.
And the guy, another guy jumps onto the plane and is like fighting Arnold Schwarzenegger, right? It's like total like, right? It's like that would just never happen in real life. It would be so like. But that's what porn is.
Mhm.
It's a fantasy. But guys are watching it, and you're wiring your brain to thinking that's real,
Yep.
or that's what a woman wants, right? Now sometimes, but she has to be so like fired up by you, meaning your fire energy has to be so hot that when she comes around you, her water energy starts boiling.
Mhm.
Because for a woman really to be turned on, she needs fire. Because woman is water, feminine is water. It's only ignited by fire. So, anyways, that was a side note, but
No, no, I completely agree with it. That's exactly what I was meaning. Like they're gonna
yeah,
create more of that fake experience and like more just not getting the actual real thing, the real love and like the real connection between people because it's just gonna create more of that. So I completely agree with that.
yeah, man,
We talked a lot about like being consciously aware, right? Like increasing your consciousness. That's something I totally understand because that's something I help people do too. Is like being conscious of the things that they're doing in their life. Like, why are you doing this? Why are you taking this action? So I
right.
completely agree with that. So why do you think people are choosing the porn? I know we kind of said like it's like the system has kind of led us to it, but like what things is drawing people towards that, do you think?
Yeah, sure. Well, one, it plays on your desire. So remember the four basic activities of the body, right? So our animal instincts is to eat, is to sleep, is to have sex, and is to provide comfort or ease. So the body loves comfort or ease, right? So it's like, I want a better mattress. I want a nicer sleep mattress. I want a bigger couch. I want, right? So there's a lot of energy going to how can we make life more and more comfortable? Because in a way, life is a bit uncomfortable. Like we're growing and we're in these bodies, and these bodies aren't really like, like they're like they're uncomfortable, right? It's got aches and pains and all kinds of stuff. So there's a desire to try to make life easier and more comfortable. Largely a lot of our money, or our economy or our activities is driven by this desire to have a more easy life. So porn, what happens is the subconscious mind or your body doesn't know the difference between watching porn and having real sex or chasing a woman. And why I say it doesn't know, consciously, you obviously know the difference. You're like, I'm watching porn, right? But unconsciously, the body's just having the experience of what it thinks it might feel like if it was like chasing a woman, right? Like not chasing her down, but like going after a woman, right? Because like for instance, our testosterone is actually stimulated by flirting with women when we're pursuing. So whether we're hunting, we're pursuing money, or are building our business, which is equal to hunting, okay, or right, or we are chasing women, equal to going and reproducing, right? Then our testosterone is stimulated. Our body is like, this is the man's duty. This is what this cell was designed to do, this activity. So one of the things we're designed to do, and that's our providing and protecting, is provide a comfortable life. So that's wired in us. Porn tricks us to make us think that we got sex when we didn't. Because when you're watching sex, your brain is interpreting it as sex. And so your hormones are spiking off like it's watching sex, like it's having it, but it's not. And specifically, oxytocin is not like, oxytocin is the bonding, gives us that emotional connection. So when you have sex, even if you have sex and ejaculate, that is the most natural way to ejaculate, because there is actual hormonal exchange, or oxytocin is released, and that's why you feel connected afterwards. Very loving sex is very connective and healing. And so the reason why many guys are choosing to go porn instead of go on a date, right? Like, it's because it's easier.
Yep.
It just simply comes down to that. It's easier. Now, if you're exposed to it at a young enough age, it becomes a hardwired pattern in your brain. And that neural pathway, that connection is so strong within your brain that it continuously fires off and leads there. And you like the dopamine and everything that you get from it, which reinforces not only the specific behavior, but all the whole ritual around it, searching for the porn. There's this excitement. Ooh, I'm going to search, and ooh, yeah, I'm going to, ooh, yeah, ooh, right? That whole excitement is all part of it. And that's reinforcing a whole ritual and habit, which eventually becomes engraved and essentially tends to become a subconscious or just like a triggered habit. So there's a whole bunch of reasons, but largely it's just easy, pleasurable, and you're designed to have, and in a way you're wanting easy and pleasure. So it's there, it's available. That's why it's so easy to just go and get it. It's availability. To go on a date and to get a woman and to go take her out for a coffee or a tea first, and then to go on a walk on a park, and to and all that kind of stuff, or even freaking to go on Tinder and just hook up for the night, is more difficult than watching porn. To the unconscious mind, which the body, which just wants ease, but the heart, the soul is not fulfilled in that, because there's no connection, because that's what you're really looking for. You're really looking for connection. You're looking for, I want to be connected to someone. I want to feel complete. The masculine wants the feminine to feel complete. It's why we desire relationship. When we feel complete within ourselves, you could see that relationship is not actually like there's this particular concept going on right now. And if it's only talked about at a superficial level, it does kind of, I can see why people will chalk it up and say toxic masculinity. I can understand that, because there's a concept that's like, men don't get married, stay single, just get money, get laid, get paid, type of thing. And because there's a certain drive that comes with that. So I get it. I'm like, I understand why that would be promoted and why some guys will be attracted to that. For me, that life is lacking soul. It's physically pleasurable, and you're definitely not distracted if you can stick to it, right? But it lacks like connection. And most men want like to build something more than just get laid and get paid. I want to get laid and get paid too. I also would like to have a nice friendship and relationship with my wife. I like to go out with my buddies. I like to explore the world. I'd like to build a business and make a difference and have an impact on this planet. So if you're interested in just getting laid and getting paid, then great, go ahead, right? Like Andrew Tate it up, right? That's like, I'm a fan of Andrew Tate, but not everything he says is for me. I don't have to agree with everything to appreciate what someone's doing. I appreciate what Andrew Tate is like on the front line, taking the hits for many of us to have these conversations, I think that we can go a lot deeper from the sex aspects than necessarily what he's delivering, because I don't know that he's gone there. It doesn't sound like it when I listen to him, even though I appreciate what he's saying, because at an animal level, and he's like, we're animals, and he's bringing it like that. I think that it's important that we understand it at an animal level. Now, for guys who are interested, though, yeah, but I'd like to have a nice relationship, and I want to have a successful business, and I want to have that in harmony. And it is important to me that I live in harmony with nature, or that it is important to me that I want to make a difference in the world, and I want to help other people in a way. That's also important to me. Then you have to be about more. Then you have to be in your heart, and you have right. Then you have to be more about just getting laid and getting paid. And in my opinion, it's more powerful, but it's not as it's not doesn't have an immediate sexiness to it. Let's say.
I mean, it ties it back to like being more conscious, right? Like, what's the difference between us and animals, right? Animals are just purely subconscious, primal instincts, and we are different because we have that conscious awareness. Or most of us do. We don't really practice it, unfortunately, with our society. But like, that's why I think it's so important that we increase that, conscious awareness. I love that you help other people do that and help men do that, because I firmly believe like if more people were consciously aware and had more testosterone, like more men, a lot of this whole pandemic stuff wouldn't have been stood for, right? Like it's ridiculous that what has happened for so long. So, yeah,
At
it's
rally
crazy.
pandemic, right? You know, we were speaking at rallies all around. I was in New Brunswick, and New Brunswick is a small province, small state. Um, I was easily the number one, if not one of the number one faces that were speaking against mandated vaccines, against um, prolonged lockdowns, and the whole thing. And then right, and we were speaking at rallies all across the province, and I'll tell you, it was 70 to 80% women at the rallies.
Wow.
And I would say, "Where's your husband?"
Mm-hmm.
"Oh, he believes in it, but he doesn't want to get fired." What that tells me is he doesn't believe in himself enough to be able to find a different way. He's comfortable. Something you're telling me that somebody is going against he's doing something against a core value, but you're not going to come out and at least like rally or like stand out there to show your. No, he doesn't want to get fired. Well, I know other guys that got fired. I know people who got fired. I know a lot of people who got fired. I know pastors who got arrested. You know, I know people like who got put in jail, and you couldn't come out to a peaceful rally, or you can't, like say to your boss, like, "Hey, goes against my personal values. I don't want to get." If more people did that and didn't just conform, you know, it wouldn't have gone down the way. And you're right. Where were the men? Where were the men? Where the men are the soldiers. We're supposed to. You don't send your women and children to fight war. You know why you don't send your women and children? Because they're more important than you in nature's eyes. Because they actually have like survival value. A woman is needed to carry the baby and for the society, the species to move forward, to keep going. That's why men do the hunting. That's why men generally goes to war. Because you didn't want we ancient cultures valued their women so much. We see that as bad now. You're saying women can't do what men do. I'm saying, why do you want? Why do you want to do
Mm-hmm.
what men do? Why you think it's easy? You want to go to war? Why? Why do you want to go to war? Why would you want that? Why nobody wants to? You think, man, I don't want to go to war. If I got to go to war, we got to go to war. I didn't want to. You think I wanted to be made fun of by my community?
Mm-hmm.
You think you think I didn't know that they weren't going to make fun of me? In fact, I almost didn't get elected as the candidate because of semen retention, because the party internally said, you're perfect candidate, except what you do is quite controversial, and it could be used against us. It could be used as a weapon against us. I'm like, damn straight they're gonna make me look crazy. You think
Yep.
I knew that? But it was that important to me. I believe so much in somebody's, especially when it comes to medical decisions and their ability to, because I'm not a big pharma guy, right? Like,
Mhm.
I don't even take Tylenol, man. Like, I can't tell you the last time, right? Like, like for me to take like an Advil or something, like I got to be next level sick, right? So
Even
people
then.
they realize but I don't, man. I don't do that stuff, right? So it's a very core belief of mine. It's a very core value. It's something I'm willing to stand up for. And what I was hearing is there are people that have the same beliefs, but they didn't have the courage to do it, or they didn't have the self-image and self-belief. And that's why I'm like, this is a cultural issue. We wouldn't even need to rally. These women wouldn't need to be out here. Yeah, women chaining themselves up, ready to stick. I had literally, we were like, doing the chain arms, right? So one of our rallies, and I had two women next to me. I'm like, where are the men? Like, I need a strong, like, where's the strong line here, right? So that we wouldn't get pushed back with the riot police. The police, it's like, where are the men at? Oh, I don't want to get fired. Don't want to get in trouble. Oh, well, I'm not sure. Maybe I should just take it because, like, I don't want to, but I'll just do it because it's easier. Yeah, that's some shit, man. When our values are so easily like tossed aside for ease and comfort,
Mhm.
that's how our consciousness level ain't where it's supposed to be. We're a depleted society. We're energetically depleted. We don't have the fight. We've been castrated.
Oh
Porn
yeah.
is self-castration.
Yeah, I
That's what
mean, exactly. I mean, exactly what you were describing. Like, woman had to be the masculine in that situation, right? They had to step up and be the masculine because there's a straight attack on masculinity, like from all angles. And one of the things I think you said there's many different reasons why porn is so big. What do you think about like the television and movies and TV shows and stuff like that? Because there's obviously a lot of like sexuality push more and more like on the advertisements and stuff, like more and more all the time now. I feel like it's getting like, if you look back like the old school like TV shows and movies, you can see a clear difference between then and now. Like, we just got some
yeah.
some real shit.
Oh yeah, I mean it's almost like it's like pushed to the limit of just not being porn, but
Mhm.
all the innuendos are there. Everybody knows what, is going on. And again, that's playing on our basic instincts, right? Not our higher selves. So it's like the same reason you want ease. So it's the four things, right? You want sex. That's a basic instinct. And because it's such a strong instinct in us to have sex and pursue sex, companies figured out that if they attach their product or service to sex, that it basically, like, think about like you drive a hot car, you drive this red Ferrari. They never really just show. Well, first of all, Ferrari doesn't advertise because I like Lamborghini said Lamborghini. You never seen Lamborghini running commercials, and because Lamborghini's like, yeah, because our customers don't watch TV,
Yeah.
right?
I love that.
They can, they can afford a
Mhm.
Lamborghini. Right? So largely, again, go back to natural living. We are not designed to sit there and watch TV for hours on end. Our body's designed to work, to build, to create. Like, again, if we had no TVs, you would be social events. Social events would be your entertainment. You know, so I don't think that point is this: everything has become sexualized because it's profitable. It gets people into action. If you, whether you're conscious or not, think this will make me sexier, this will make me more attractive if I have this, then there's a certain percentage of the population that will go and be motivated by that, right? And so that's why it's there, because it's profitable. If my music is full of sexual stuff and that gets me hyped and going, I love it, yeah, great. I'm gonna buy stuff from that artist because attention eventually becomes income. So what we need first is your attention. Then we're going to ask you for your money. And sex gets attention. Plain and simple.
Yep.
it catches our attention. So that's why it's there, and that's why it's becoming more and more hardcore, because it's like the fight for attention is becoming more and more hardcore, because now you've competing. Your TV is now competing with YouTube and with Facebook and with podcasts. And there's so many different ways to have someone's attention that the fight for attention is more fierce. So more fierce tactics are coming out, more bold and crazy tactics are coming out. So I think it's just it's an evolution. And again, if we were more conscious and understood sexual energy more, we wouldn't allow it, or we would cap it. We would understand why. All right, there was a reason why we kept movies, at a certain level, right? Is because you didn't want everybody just to be fully attentive on sex and then not fully attentive on, because that depletes your ability to earn and have economy. Again, our whole day, back in our ancestors, they weren't thinking about sex all day. They were thinking about getting the food, the basic stuff. All of our basic stuff is largely taken care of. So we can spend 3 hours watching porn and I still have a warm bed to sleep. That's largely the challenge. We live in such a comfortable society that I can do that. You didn't have that luxury even 100, 200 years ago. If you spent your whole day jerking off, I mean, that could be detrimental for the crops.
Yep.
That could have been detrimental. I always say, look at the sun. Imagine the sun decided to take an hour off, we would all be done. If the sun takes 1 minute off, we're done. We live in an organism. This goes back to the more esoteric side of it. We live in a living organism, which requires you to be living and working. We need you to work. We need you like that. So the point is that sex is being used because it's profitable. It's a basic instinct. Now that you know this and are conscious of it and wise enough, protect yourself from that. Say, okay, great. I'm going to spend my day pursuing my goals and dreams and not spend my day watching porn and watching Netflix. Now, do I watch a little Netflix? Yeah, sure. It's generally half an hour to an hour right at the end of the night, but not before I do my nighttime routine, meaning I'll watch TV, but then I'll go do my nighttime routine, and then I'll get into bed, and I have a whole process of imagining my vision and laying down to sleep and consciously going to sleep. That's another thing people don't do. They don't consciously go to sleep. They just wait till they're too tired and then pass out. So they're passing out in front of the TV or with their phone, and they're like, that's not healthy, man. Get into bed, relax your body, learn to relax. They're like, I can't, my mind's too wandering. That's why you need sexual alchemy. Why is your mind wandering like that? Like, your mind shouldn't be going so crazy that you can't sleep. If your mind's going crazier that you can't sleep, your mind is somehow out of whack, right? You're not in sync. So it's a sign to get your shit together. And semen retention is like the basics. That's why it's so transformative, because it actually works at the basic core motivation. Now you're not just occupied with, I got to watch porn and I got to jerk off and I got to get laid. Now you're thinking, I'm going to get that roof fixed. I'm going to get that project done around the house. And you know what? Your woman, if you're got a woman or a wife, she's going to fucking love it, man. You're going to paint that hallway that's supposed to be painted 3 weeks ago or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And be like, yeah. And she didn't have to tell you to do it, but you just got up early before. You got up early before she was awake, and you got to work and started painting. And when she got up, you had a fresh cup of coffee waiting, or a tea waiting for her, whatever she likes. And it's just sitting there. You think she's not going to be like, oh God, that's my man. Maybe I should go show my appreciation. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Right? See, that's what guys want. That's why you want to watch the porn, but you don't want to do the work. You don't want to get up early and go to the gym and get that shit done, and then have nature naturally reward you with a pleasurable evening with your woman. No, you just want to watch porn instead, which is the pussy way. It's you did it. You want the reward, but you don't want to do the action. You feel entitled. You're entitled. You think that you should just have sex because you have a man. No, men, we earn everything. It's hard being a man. I say it's hard. It's not really, but it's a tougher life. But we've diminished that because men, we earn everything. We have to earn our money. Women can just generally get money by having a good man, right? Men have to earn their respect. We have to build something. We have to become excellent at something. So we have to put 5 to 10 years of constant doing something over and over and over again. You know, Muhammad Ali said, I hate training, but I love being a world heavyweight champ. Right?
Mm-hmm.
We all want to be heavyweight champs in our own endeavors or whatever we're doing in our life. But we've become a weak society. And I say that with all love. We're weak because we've lived in a society that's so comfortable. Mm-hmm. We haven't had to do it. Like I said, you can watch porn, jerk off, and still pay your bills because people fought for your rights to have minimum wages or health insurances or whatever, whatever, right? Like we've been set up so good that even though we're not performing well, we still have a good life. But what you're sacrificing is your own fulfillment. You don't feel fulfilled. And there's this little voice in there and you try to drown it out, but there's a little voice that says, I think I should be doing better. Like there's something in me that's telling me I should probably be not doing this. That's consciousness. You need to listen to it and you need to exercise that more and more to have it grow. It's a muscle. It's a muscle that needs to be grown. And that's what these practices do. And that's essentially like what I do as in my coaching is like, look, not only am I going to show you how to, have a great sexual prowess and energy and how to circulate that energy and use it, but then let's develop the habits to having a great relationship, or let's develop the habits to building a multiple 6-figure business so that you got a ton of energy, but you also got a big bank account so that you can do something great. And you'll have, you'll help so many people. You do so many great things, right? So anyways, did that answer your question?
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you had some great points overall. And I totally agree with you. We need to start exercising that consciousness muscle and be more aware. So I think that pretty much ties everything up. Let's say someone is trying to like cut back on porn, and start being more aware of that stuff, but they're having problems or they're, sabotaging themselves. They keep going back to the porn, they keep finding their hands down their pants. Like what's like one tip or one thing you want to leave with them? Like if there's one thing they took away from this talk that they can go forward and kind of use.
Okay, so let's say that you find yourself either like putting your hands down your pants or wanting to click. You're doing work, but your hand is like you're like fighting your hand to be like, or not, okay, yeah. You're right. So the first thing is you'll notice that I bet you your pelvic floor region or your body somewhere is tight. So the first thing you want to do is relax the body, because the mind is just sending an unconscious signal to your hand. Hey, go do that thing. Go do that thing that you always do. So once you notice that, my hand is there, first of all, take your attention, bring it to your nose and take a deep breath in and follow that breath down to your belly. Hold that air in your belly for however long you can hold, and then slowly, controlled, let that air out of the nose. And you'll notice that it slows down your heart rate. And when your heart rate slows down, your whole body relaxes. And when your whole body relaxes, you have more control now over the thoughts and actions. So it's a pattern interrupt where you interrupt the unconscious pattern that you've unconsciously developed, right? It's like muscle memory. So now, once you do that, then you redirect that energy, that thought is energy. You redirect that energy or transmute it or alchemize it into a higher purpose. So when I want to watch porn or jerk off, or I want to go get laid, but I should, now it's time to get paid. I should be working on my business, but my mind's like, oh yeah, Sarah's around. She's kind of looking good, right? Blah, 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 right? I just say, you know what? stop, deep breath in. As soon as I take that deep breath in, I relax my mind. My little voice quiets. I say, you know what? I'm full of sexual energy right now. It's time for me to go get paid. Let me put that into my business. And then tonight, I'll connect with Sarah. And I just might send her a quick text that says, hey, tonight, dress well, we're going out. Or, hey, tonight, blah, blah, blah. And that's it. And I ain't talking to her until I get my calls done. Right? Now I got 2 hours of sales calls. So I'm going to focus on that. So that's a nice little technique. And again, that's what the sexual alchemy practices do. They give you a ton of practical techniques that you can use in your day-to-day life. Some of it, you won't even be knowing it. Maybe you're sitting in a meeting and instead of like your boss, who's a woman, instead of listening to what she has to say, you're just like, I would bend her over that desk right. You're right. And you're like, fuck, what did she just say? Shit, was it right? Everybody's writing notes and you're like, oh shit, I was lost in a fantasy with my boss, right? So instead of doing that, you can take your 2 feet, place them on the ground parallel, and actually run your mind from your head all the way down to your feet. And then you can do this thing where you imagine, it's like a meditation where you imagine your feet, roots growing from your feet and grounding down into the earth and ground. And this is a grounding technique because wherever your mind goes, energy flows. So the more you control your mind and you have mental power, then you can ground your energy now. And right away, you'll notice like, oh shit, I can bring an erection. I could be like fully hard erect down to soft within less than 30 seconds simply by redirecting my thoughts. Right?
Powerful.
You can massive control over your body and your sexual energy and your ejaculation. And then you can get to the higher practices of non-ejaculatory sex, non-ejaculatory orgasms. So then even in a relationship, like I'll go months without ejaculating, 60, 90 days easily without ejaculating, but having tons of sex with my wife because I'm grounding it and using it in different ways. Now, I've been practicing for many years, but it takes about 6 weeks to learn all the entire techniques. And then it takes about another year of actually practicing and consciously utilizing it until it becomes your new muscle memory. And that's my goal with every guy that I work with, is that you eventually becomes your muscle memory, that your hand is just no longer clicking. Your hand is just not going to your pants anymore. It's just not, because it's the rewiring has shifted.
Right. Makes perfect sense. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that. I think that could be very like great techniques with like the grounding and just taking the deep breath and using that breathing to kind of get yourself out of that subconscious program kind of thing, right? So you said you have a free sex transmutation guide that you share. So if you send that to me, I can put that in the description down below so anyone who's listening can go find that as well. Of course, I'll have your links. I'll have your website and all your social media down below as well, so people can find you. And for anyone who's interested in learning more about this, don't hesitate to reach out to Nakula, because obviously he lives what he preaches. He has tons of energy and tons of knowledge, and I think anyone who works with you would really be of great benefit and would get a lot of good things out of it. So big believer in the work you're doing, Nakula, and I think you really are changing the world. So it's awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you, brother. I really appreciate the opportunity, and same to you. So many of us self-sabotage our finances, our relationships, our health, and to be able to work with someone like you, identify, what's sabotaging that and be able to transform that, it's well worth the time and money investment. In fact, the investment into yourself is the most important investment you'll ever make. And nothing's transformed my life more than investing in education, like coaches, trainers, webinars. Man, I'm like just eating it all up, because knowledge is a form of power when it's applied. And so, yeah, great work, man. I appreciate everything you're doing as well.
Awesome. I love it. And I love that message too. Like, reach out for help, people. If you need help, if you are struggling, there's a reason why you don't have to be struggling. The most successful people I know have had mentors, have had coaches. So, there's someone out there who will fit your style. Just look. We have the internet now. We can literally work globally, right? So it's like there's no excuses at this point. So get out there and make a difference, and make sure you guys like, subscribe, and share this video so more people can get it. And like I said, don't hesitate to reach out to Nakula. All right. Thank you, Nakula. Very grateful to have you on today.
Thank you.